Hello everyone, and welcome back to Rudy's 1-6 World for another episode in our new figure showcase series. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Threezero's latest release from their ongoing 6-scale Stranger Things line, and that figure is Lucas Sinclair, one of the core members of that kid group and one of the core characters in the show. So, it goes without saying, I love Stranger Things. Alright, I think it remains one of the best shows on TV, but also one of the best throwback shows, kind of bringing back memories of those 80s action-adventure movies. Very much having that tone of Steven Spielberg and Robert Zemeckis. So, I've been picking up the entire line right now. I do have 11, I have Dustin, and I did pick up the Demogorgon on discount. And I will say, they are overall figures that are nice on the wallet, right? They aren't that expensive, due in large part to the fact that they're smaller figures, although they do come with a nice array of accessories, which more than makes up for the smaller size that you get. And the other benefit when it comes to cost, Threezero is taking its sweet time with this line. It seems to be very much in common with their strategies when you look at the Walking Dead line as well as the Game of Thrones figures. Now, Will Byers just went up for pre-order and they teased Mike along with him. I already ordered the Will figure and I'll be getting Mike. And after that, I feel like things become a little murky. I have commented on Threezero's Facebook post, and it's usually, what about Hopper and Max? What about Steve? And they've actually responded positively, so hopefully that means that, like their other lines, they'll plan on going deeper into Stranger Things. And if those lines are any indication, I wouldn't be surprised if we get alternate versions of all these kids. Take Rick Grimes, for example. Pretty sure they've done a few versions of him already, so I'm optimistic for what's to come, and I do like that things are spaced out, because like I said, definitely helpful from a budgeting perspective. So enough of that, let's jump into this figure, and I will tell you right now, disaster struck again for me. It has not been a great week for me as far as collecting goes, but I'll get more into that as we progress in the review. Anyway, let's start by taking a look at the entire set here, and you get a nice amount of accessories, not as much as you did with Dustin, but a decent array, all very much character specific, as would be expected, including hands, a backpack, and an assortment of other goodies. But no stand, and I'm going to mention it this time because I'm a little annoyed, no extra hand pegs. I think at this point in time, it's ridiculous that we don't get those pieces. Stands help with dynamic posing, and pegs, they're not that expensive and they help in the event of breaks. But regardless, let's take a closer look and we'll start with the hands. And it is a pretty extensive variety here, and they all look good with some nice detailing showing some wrinkling of the palms, and they're all specific to hold key accessories like the radio, the binoculars, and even the compass. So that's a great touch and something that is nice to see figure manufacturers doing. Next up, you do get his slingshot, which is really nicely done with the handle being actual metal, and I do applaud that. It makes it much more sturdy during posing, and you really don't feel like it's at a risk of breaking. Handle is nice, a nice rubbery yellow, so it does feel like you would imagine the actual slingshot would feel like, and I think it's a very unique piece. Next, you get a walkie-talkie, which is nicely detailed, again with nice silver dials, a small antenna, and really nice textured feels for the panels. Now on the back, there is a plastic strap-like piece that allows you to slide one of the extra hands through, so the figure can be posed holding the radio. And on the side, there's a really nice done button. So I think it's a great recreation of an 80s style blocky walkie-talkie, and it's something we've seen with Dustin as well. Next, we do have another little unique piece, and that is a pair of binoculars. And these actually do function, opening up a little at the center pivot. They're really nicely painted and detailed with a nice green paint app that still has some decent metallic-like paintwork at the hinges and at the eyepieces. The lenses are also slightly opaque plastic, so it helps sell that realism. And next, you get an old-style military angled flashlight. Now, beyond the weathered army green paint and the nice reflective chrome-like paint along the lens, it also does have a nicely painted clip on the back. Only thing I don't like is that the clip isn't functional. Now by that I just mean it would have been nice to have been able to clip this onto either his backpack or his belt, since he does come with an army surplus belt. But unfortunately it's just meant to be held. Looks really nice though. And the other unique piece is a very, very small compass. Now it does have a nicely recreated compass wheel within. I'm guessing it's a sticker that's then covered by a very thin clear plastic. So it looks really good and real with the metallic finish, and there's a hand to hold it, so I do like that. I would just be wary of losing it, because when I say small, I mean just that. And finally, you get his nice light blue backpack. Now, it's stuffed with some foam pieces to give it a little width. I may remove that because any of us who has ever had a backpack knows they don't always look this perfect. And I think having the backpack hold the accessories would actually be a really nice plus. Now let's look at the sculpt here, and I'm happy to say it's pretty good. I still think the sculpt that came with 11 was the best in the line to date, but this one I think is definitely better than Dustin, and it actually looks like Lucas. I do think they could have given him a slightly different expression. I feel like his eyes are almost mid-blink, so he almost looks a little bored. But everything else here looks impressive, from the detailing on the skin, the realistic looking paint apps on the eyes. It really is a strong sculpt, and again, I think Threezero continues to improve. Now, they still have their misses, but I think this one turned out well. You can also remove the bandana, but I kind of like it and really think it looks good, so I'll be keeping it on him. Now, looking at the rest of his clothing, you can't fault Threezero. I think they did a great job here capturing the look from the corresponding season of Stranger Things. The corduroy jacket might just be a little too bright. On the show, it does seem a little more muted. But I do love the collar details with the faux fur lining, and that also continues on the inside of the jacket. Beneath that, he has the nice blue shirt he wears, the brown corduroy pants, and the nice surplus-style army utility belt. Sneakers also look great, and there's something that really caught my attention. And if you've ever seen an older pair of sneakers, especially this style, with age, the white part of the sole along the sides can start yellowing, and they replicated that really well here. The one negative on the shoes, they are plastic molded, and the shoelaces do feel a little sloppy. Like they could have just made it look a little bit better. Now, granted, that's me looking at everything with a super analytical eye to try to spot any issues. I think once he's standing there in a display, no one is going to complain or even see some of those slight misses on the sneakers. From a posability perspective, I really like the figures in this line. There really is a lot you can do with them. The bodies all have double jointed elbows, which honestly at this point for 6 scale figures should be the norm. And it does allow for you to attain some really great poses and have the figure feel dynamic. Although you really are limited to doing that with his upper body only, because there isn't a stand, so you kind of have to keep his feet firmly planted. Now, I alluded to another disastrous moment for me, so here goes. If you've watched any of the Threezero Stranger Things reviews I've done in the past, I have cautioned you when it comes to swapping the hands, because I had the peg come apart on me with both 11 and Dustin. Now, to Threezero's credit, their pegs can easily be put back together, so they weren't breaks that just stopped you from working with the figure, and the hands with those felt like they could easily pop on and off of the pegs. Now, Lucas, some of the hands seem to have a little more give on the peg and come off more easily, but some of them are really firmly locked in there. And when I was trying to just remove one of those hands, and I mean just pull on it slightly, the peg came apart on me. No harm, right? As annoying as it is, I was able to put it back together and continue on my way. And then when I went to swap the other hand, I literally started doing the same thing. I just pulled the thing straight away apart, and without much pressure, and bam, you got a perfect break at the peg. And with the peg just snapping off from the joint and staying stuck in the hand, it was kind of a loss at that point. Even if I managed to get the peg out of the arm, Threezero in their infinite wisdom doesn't give you extras, so I'm pretty much out of luck. I'm telling you, with this and my DeLorean, it hasn't been a great collecting week. Now, fortunately, I did have a little putty, so I was able to continue on with my review and swapping of hands using that. But it's just a temp solution, so I think you'll see that putty evident in some of the shots. But really, I am having such bad luck with these. I feel like for all the complaints or doubts people have, InArt might be onto something with the magnetic option. There just has to be an easier way to swap the hands. In almost 20 years of collecting 6 scale figures, the hand swaps have always been my least favorite part. I did reach out to Sideshow to see if I could just get a replacement peg in hand, so we'll see, but for now the putty will do. And look, I do really like how Lucas turned out, and I think I mentioned this with Dustin. By themselves, maybe with the exception of 11, but by themselves, either Dustin, Lucas, Will, or even Mike, when he finally gets announced, don't really seem to stand out or make you think, wow, this is the most impressive figure ever. But once you pose together, put the group together, and you start having the line kind of come together along with the Demogorgon, just like on the show, that's where the figures really start to impress. Plus, there's a nice visual pop of color with these guys, and their 80s attire. So really happy to have him, and I think he was a great addition to the line, peg issue notwithstanding. As far as the future, Will is up and Mike has been teased, so really hoping we see some more releases from this line and that Threezero doesn't choose to end it quickly. I do feel like there isn't as much excitement about this right now, that we're kind of in a lull before the final season, but I feel like once season 5 hits, the interest in this line is going to skyrocket, and I'll be happy to have my figures and not have to hunt them down. So that was a quick look at the 6 scale version of Lucas Sinclair by Threezero, and again, overall positive feeling on the figure, with the major negative being that peg issue and the stand issues. Now, what do you think about this release and this line in general? Are you looking forward to it or not remotely interested? Let me know your thoughts, and as always, thank you for watching, and if you are enjoying the content, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll touch base on the next video.